I thought that maybe it would be good to take a look at the past year. It's 3 days, 4 days until New Year, from 2024 to 2025. And I thought that I was thinking of writing a little annual report. Like I don't think I've done it the past couple of years, but I used to write it. But I thought of speaking about the past training year a little bit. I think that most of you have joined, well, we have the rule in the Sangha that to stay in the Sangha one has to join 2 retreats a year, and preferably live in person. But online is fine as well. So I think that most of you have joined 2 or more retreats. But in 2024 I counted we've had 10 retreats, which total to 36 retreat days. And I was thinking about this. It's actually very good to have almost monthly retreats, even if it's 2 days or 2.5 days, like weekend retreats. It's excellent to keep one's practice alive and stay motivated. So this year, like on previous years, we had 10 retreats, which is excellent. I remember something that you've heard me talk about this many times probably. I always talk about, kind of planting the seeds into your minds, into the minds of our Sangha members about the residential training center or residential ashram. We have this little home ashram here now, and Jussi is visiting us from Finland, joining us in person. But this is not a proper like a residential training center. And I always talk about this because I have the experience of having lived in a residential training center or monastery back in the day in Japan. And the way how like proper residential training is set up is that half of the month, every month, is retreats. So a lot of retreat, like you spend half of the year every year doing like a retreat schedule. And this of course gives it's like a rocket very effective training that way. So this is something that I often think about and have dreamed of many years, and at some point it's coming, I think, I hope. And also it would be wonderful to have like a proper home for the Sangha that would have little rooms, many little rooms for accommodation, and people you could come every now and then when you're able to from your family and work life, to take little breaks and come there for training, even if you weren't living there for a longer period of time. Something that I've spoken about regularly the past several years is the topic of professional yogis in the West. And I think that in Amrita Mandala Sangha, those Sangha members who really want to take a deep dive in practice, and not only to clarify the great matter for themselves. By great matter I'm speaking about purifying the traumas, healing, and then wisdom and clarity. So those who want to become pros, professional yogis and professional teachers, not only that training is about healing and wisdom insight, but when you live in a training center, you live in that culture. You live in an environment where when you learn other things as well. You know, you live and breathe yogic training, meditative training. So of course that experience, you don't get that just by training at home. So at one point it will happen. We will have a residential training center and a home for Amrita Mandala, a proper home for Amrita Mandala. But for the time being, it is also excellent that we have these regular retreats, proper retreats. And I would like to remind you that a couple of weeks ago I published the retreat dates for 2025, same 10 retreats. There will probably be some like 1 or 2 extra weekends, extra trainings that I'm yet to announce, but please remember that we have this little ashram here in Slovenia and that Sangha members are welcome to come here when we have retreats here. Next year we will have also a spring retreat in Switzerland that is organized by Sylvia and Patricia, and then autumn retreat again in Finland at Acharya Helena's family mansion. So those trainings are coming. So this year we've had 10 retreats, 36 retreat days in total. We've also had roughly 20 satsangs led by myself. And of course there has been Acharya sessions led by Acharyas in Finland, in Norway, in UK, in US, and then Patricia, she's from Ecuador, so she leads Spanish sessions online. And I think that early this year, I don't remember if it was January or February, they had, was it like a weekend retreat in, was it Ecuador or some other country in South America. So Acharya activities have also been there the past year. This year I have taught 4 trauma specials that can all be found from YouTube. And those 4 trauma specials that contain, I counted 10 different practices, for very effective practices for healing of trauma, have been very, very well received. I've received quite a bit of positive feedback from people who have tried them and instantly benefited from doing them. So that's been lovely. And now also in near future, acharyas in their own areas will start teaching trauma specials in their own language, which is lovely. Other things that I have covered in my teachings this year, and this was quite big one. Last spring I gave a number of sessions. There were Guru Yoga sessions with Shakyamuni Buddha, and then Taranatha and Dolpopa of the Jonang lineage of Vajrayana. So I gave a number of sessions on the Buddha's 3rd turning of the wheel of Dharma. So the 3rd turning, to remind everybody, is about what happens after emptiness of all phenomena has been realized and established. in terms of Amrita Mandala, what happens when the 10 bhumis have been perfected, or when the causal body has been perfected. And those sessions last spring, I remember it was around March, April, the blessings from Taranatha and Dolpopa and Shakyamuni Buddha were immense, both in satsangs and on retreats, but also in my home practice, very, very intense. So those recordings, many of them can be found from YouTube, so you can review them, and I highly recommend to do that also. But that's been a pleasure, a real pleasure, because the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, after emptiness has been realized, what you work with, you establish basic goodness in your whole being, in your body, in your mind, in your energetics, in your emotional body, and specifically astral body, because that's what's left for purification after emptiness has been realized. And so those sessions were really special to me, and I received some empowerments from those three great masters, Taranatha, Dolpopa and Shakyamuni Buddha, that I hope to pass on to my students at some point. And I have passed some to Rani, my spouse. But also something that was coming for many, many years was how do you say, presenting God from yogic perspective. So it was necessary for me to, first explain and transmit about the third turning of the wheel of Dharma before I could come to the topic of God. And the reason why I came to God and have taught these God prayer and God meditations this autumn is because we live in this Christian or post-Christian culture. And like I have always, when starting those sessions, I've always said that, if you have some trauma or you feel that even thinking about God feels unpleasant, I've asked you to, just put those impressions aside and kind of do the practice with me like you never heard of God before, or where you don't have that baggage. And those sessions, to be honest, I was expecting a bit more reluctance from Sangha. But those sessions were so beautiful and so effective that, that apparently if some people had reluctance or doubts, they were swept away. So these God sessions this autumn on retreats and satsangs have been really a pleasure, both from my personal practice perspective as well as from the perspective of teaching it to you. And that's the thing, I have to say it again, that the way how yogis view God, and many swamis and yogis and masters, mahasiddhas from Hindu tradition have spoken about God for many centuries and thousands of years. but it needs to be understood what this, we need to have a proper right view what this God is and what this God is not. And it's been lovely to see how, most of our Sangha members are European or American, so, we have some Christian roots. And it's been lovely to see, those roots getting healed and see that flourishing of kind of like how do you say, our spiritual roots here in the West, let's put it that way. Then another, I think that I didn't remember everything that I've taught this year, but another thing that has been very, I feel, significant this year have been pure psyche teachings. And there's the practice of I affirmation in relation to those. There are, I think, 1 or 2 pure psyche sessions in YouTube with I affirmation instructions, but I was just looking, checking where the most of the materials are, and they are in the basic practices of the path of healing and light that you can get from, if you didn't join those retreats, you can get it from the web shop. So the basic set of path of healing and light. And the pure psyche teachings are very significant because, okay, what are we talking about there? So we're talking about pure psyche or pure I. Our sense of I in its pristine form. Pristine, undistorted, stainless form. And I remember when giving those teachings, I said that probably with most of us, maybe not everybody, because sometimes we traumatize at birth, so the very first seconds of our physical life in these bodies, but I think that for most of us, if we lived up to 1 year old or 2 years old or 3, we had that, the sense of self develops. I don't actually remember what the psychology says that, but around year 1, 2 years. So I think that for most of us, we had that pure psyche without traumatization, without selfishness, very, very early on, before we experienced our first traumatizing, shocking events, when that pure psyche was damaged, injured. And then, that's how it starts. It begins to, there's the first dent into the pure psyche, and then it's not pure anymore. It begins to, we start to view things. Year 3, year 4, year 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, and so on. That little dent in the beginning starts skewing everything, right? So that's how it works. But my point is that I affirmation is the practice that, you can return that experience of having this stainless, undistorted, pure psyche, pure self, pure I. And, I'm not a psychologist or psychotherapist. My understanding of those things are very basic. So my experience of psychology and trauma healing comes 99.9% from from study of my own mind, study of my own trauma, and then through teachings that I received from my gurus and some practices that I've spontaneously, how do you say, opened, revealed, or released. But from what I know, this pure psyche isn't really discussed and isn't really sought after in the world of psychology and Western therapies. So this, even the basic concept of, going through one's traumas and baggage and selfishness to reveal the psyche in pure form, it's not known in Western psychology. But it is possible. It is possible. It is hard work, as you know, but it is possible to return that pure state. So pure psyche. So this, giving those teachings have been very, very beneficial and special to myself as a practitioner, but also has been very special and meaningful for me to pass them on to you. Then other things that I've covered this year was the second version of Amrita Kriya Yoga. Something that I decided a month and a half ago was to release the online courses of Amrita Kriya Yoga and Rainbow Body Yoga for free, so that anybody can get the materials, no charge, free of charge. And the last time when I asked Kedar how many people had taken those courses, it's been a month and a half, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, so about a month after they were made available for free, and about 100 people had taken those 2 courses. And it was about 50-50. So 50 people had downloaded Rainbow Body Yoga and another 50 had taken Amrita Kriya Yoga. I'm not seeing any of those people on this retreat yet, but we'll see how it goes. If some of those people will start showing up on retreats and become Sangha members, but we'll see. But yeah, second version of Amrita Kriya Yoga I taught I think in August this year. The first version I taught the year before, in August of 2023. And then something that I taught early this year was Advanced Amrita Asana Yoga, also known as immortality exercises, which contains standing practices, dancing practices, and the use of the so-called physicalized concentration. And I just briefly want to mention this because this is another, 15 years ago, about 15 years ago, Mahavatar Babaji, who's here behind my left shoulder, he gave me my marching orders. Sivakami, I remember telling Sivakami when she was still alive, I told her what Babaji had instructed me to do, which was that Babaji told me to collect all the bits and pieces of wisdom practices and, reveal some of them again, forgotten practices, reveal them again, and put all that together as a applicable method for people of our time. So that's what Babaji asked me, and I remember telling this to Sivakami when she was still alive, and she said that she used the word, "Oh, looks like you got your marching orders." So this is what I've been doing, and this is the reason why we have all these practices and techniques basically for all categories of yoga. I'm not sure, because I don't see discussions of this. I'm not sure if our Sangha members really understand the scope of our method, the practices, and its significance. Let's put it this way. But in Amrita Asana Yoga, in immortality exercises, it's a physical practice, in quotes. So you do postures, you do standing meditation, you do movement meditation, you do yoga postures while applying mantras. So always having a spiritual charge, but also something very important is this physicalized concentration. Physicalized concentration, which in Chinese is E, Y-I, E. And this physicalized concentration, this practice is nowhere to be found in any Indian or Tibetan yogas. Doesn't exist in India or Tibet. However, does exist in China and Japan. I've since I was 6-7 years old, well, not in many years anymore, really. I haven't practiced martial arts in martial form, but I started my path in August of 1986, when I was 7 years old, by taking up judo. And so what I have presented in Amrita Asana Yoga, in advanced Amrita Asana Yoga, I started learning almost 40 years ago, in 86. And then of course I've studied it with many Chinese, Japanese and Western martial arts teachers as well as healers. But this physicalized concentration, in other words, means the activation of the astral body while you're doing physical exercises. Activation of the astral body means purifying the astral body, working with the astral body made of meridians, as you are also working with physical tissues. And this is something that is very close to my heart, because I've spent so many years studying martial arts, internal martial arts, and then especially Zen arts under Terayama Roshi, who later asked me to continue his lineage. So it's very dear to my heart. And so what I've taught in Amrita Asana Yoga, in immortality exercises, it's something that I might be wrong. Maybe there is somebody somewhere around the world teaching those things, but as far as I know, nobody else teaches that stuff. Nobody else. But it doesn't make me special. It only means that, just like Babaji asked me, I put together those bits and pieces, collected correct understanding of principles, and then having correct application, practices that use those underlying principles. That's all I'm saying. That's really all what I've done with many Amrita Mandala practices that really can't be found elsewhere. So I was really glad to teach immortality exercises, and what I was planning for next year is that next summer retreat here in Slovenia would be Amrita Asana Yoga special. It's a week-long retreat like this one, and I was thinking that it would be a good opportunity to do that because we have this indoor practice room, but we also have the so-called dojo, outdoor practice space that it's like a veranda, large veranda. So that's what I was planning for next summer retreat. Something in the back of my mind that I was thinking was every now and then somebody has asked me to teach healing practices. I mean, healing practices in the sense that doing healing for others, which is also very dear to my heart because I started learning that stuff from my first judo teacher back in the mid-80s. And later, I became a professional of shiatsu therapy that I did for 2-3 years professionally. So it is also very dear to me. But now for many years, that those healing practices, healing for others practices have been on the shelf in Amrita Mandala because other things have been more important. But I was watching some documentary a couple of days ago, and there was some healing, like a few scenes of energy healing practices, and I felt that, oh, that's really something that I really like, what I really love, have done a lot, and I would want to share it with others. And I don't know how I will offer it, but initially I had the idea of doing like a week-long intensive of healing practices next summer. So it would be a different session than the summer retreat. Maybe in late August or well, apart from summer retreat anyway. And then another thing that has been very important, meaningful this year are the visualization of the two bodies, visualization of the whole subtle body containing causal body and astral body, and the animation of it. Have you seen it? We are fortunate to have James Prevet in the Sangha who does that stuff for a living, does animations and other things. I don't even know. But James has enough, he's a pro, so he was able to, according to my instructions, create that visualization, the animation of the whole subtle body, as well as Babaji's image behind me. There's large Mataji's image here, and we've done quite a few pictures for Amrita Mandala. So that's also been very significant because this is my 17th year of teaching full time, and for the whole time I've just been waiting for somebody to show up in the Sangha who is technically capable of doing that stuff. So we have how many deities? Around 30 or 40 deities that all need to be, made pictures of. And we also have the whole Mahasiddha family that, especially the Amrita gurus, the about dozen close gurus that I want there to be pictures, very specific to Amrita Mandala lineage. So this is also something very significant that has happened this year. And more of those images of gurus and deities, most of them are still coming. So that's a little look at 2024. Has been an interesting year of practice and training. I counted that now that we've been here in Slovenia for a year and for 3 months, for a year and 3 months now, that there has been 20 guests, 20 Sangha members have visited us here. Sometimes outside retreats, few of them outside retreats, but most of them on retreats. And that has been really lovely experience. So please do keep coming. Come over whenever you can. It is precious to practice and share our experiences and talk, have tea and talk. This is what yogis have always done. Talk over tea. I have some plans for this winter retreat. Not too rigid plans, but obviously Rainbow Body Yoga and Amrita Kriya Yoga. Acharyas will lead Rainbow Body Yoga in the mornings in that extra morning session, and then I will lead Amrita Kriya Yoga in one form or the other in the evenings. There will likely be Guru Yoga sessions, God prayer sessions. Something that I would like to present on this retreat is there is an ancient saying that God, Guru, and Self are all the same. And they are the same. We have the view that each one of us can attain full enlightenment in this life. If the basic requirements are there, if you have the merit, you're ready to look at your own sack of dirt. If you're ready, if you have a teacher, if you have practices, if you have basic necessities, food, shelter, your life is at least relatively easy, let's put it that way. When you have these basic requirements, then it is possible to attain full enlightenment in this life, so that it won't be postponed 2 lives further, 80 lives further, 600 lives further, or whatever it might be. I always felt that it's a very empowering view that, for example, in Christianity there is only one Son of God, there is only one Christ, and that is Jesus, Ishwanath. But in yogic traditions there is a very different view, that we all, any one of us can become fully enlightened, fully realized. Like so many men and women, yogis and yoginis before us has, countless men and women from all kinds of social statuses, from all kinds of backgrounds, rich people, poor people, men, women, young, old. So it is possible. It's very empowering. So we can, each one of us can attain full enlightenment in this body, in this life, for the sake of all beings. And this means that I don't want to say unity, that's not the right word, but it's sameness with Mahasiddha Gurus. It's sameness, or is it sameness with God. This self, this pure being, pure I, that has no existential confusion, is the same, has only pure qualities, pure radiance. And something that is fascinating about that is that I can definitely say from my own experience that for a long time I felt that, the difference, when I have practiced Guru Yoga, I felt the difference, great difference between myself and Guru Padmasambhava, between myself and Babaji, that there is, I wasn't even near to their presence because of the dirt in my system. But at the same time, our method is designed in a way, I've designed it in a way that it will give us cessations, ceasing of the whole selfing mechanism, which is essential yogic experience and experiences. So during those cessations, whether they last 5 minutes or 50 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days, the time duration increases the more we clean ourselves. It gives us, during cessation, we can really feel, oh, now I don't feel inferior, and there is no gap to how Padmasambhava or Babaji or Yeshe Chogyal or Mataji feels. We can feel that I feel completely pure. This is what Buddha nature is. So it is the case with any method that any method should enable, making that gap between oneself and a guru or oneself and God smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until there is no gap. That's what I mean by sameness. So the ultimate realization is that the self, me, I, is no different from God and gurus. And to get there, from a practical point of view, we have all these many different practices to address specific causes, that specific issues that separate us from God, that makes us different, makes us a sentient being, samsaric being, makes us different, separate from Guru, Mahasiddha Guru. You already know this, you already know this. I'm just reminding you that what we are doing. But it requires, like I said, these 4 or 5 requirements, it requires commitment. Not because we have to. We don't have to practice. We only practice because we need to. Because there's no other option. If you have really understood, the 4 noble truths of the Buddha can be summarized in 2 points. That we discover and understand and admit to ourselves that we are very confused, that we are day and night, day and night, folks. Today, yesterday, tomorrow, there is this engine, this machine of confusion inside us, making us feel not right, sometimes making us feel ill, awful. But even, feeling that something is not really right, that is samsaric existence. That is impure existence. Based on what? Delusion. Delusion. So we create our own suffering, right? The causes that create our suffering, our confusion, is in us, in our physical body and in our subtle bodies. And this is very precious to know. So many people everywhere around us, they are angry and in fear and jealous and all that, and they don't know, they don't even understand that by experiencing those samsaric, self-centered, selfish emotions and feelings, having such motivations makes them ill, makes them feel not right. This is illness. This is illness. We have understanding in Western medicine about depression and anxiety and panic attacks and something like that. Those are obvious, right? Very obvious symptoms. But nobody discusses of this existential illness, right? And that's why I speak about, that's why I speak about professional yogis in the West. Because nobody else except yogis and yoginis, this is our professional field. Knowing what this existential illness is and offering medicine, offering solution to that illness. So very, very special. Wherever you go in the world, it's the same samsara. Same samsara. Cultures differ, cultures vary, but samsara is the same. So, yeah, it's extremely precious, isn't it? To practice any form of dharma. But Amrita Mandala, just like Vajrayana or Tantrayana, tantric paths, is not really just any type of dharma. From my point of view, anybody is welcome to come to our Sangha, practice in our Sangha, and then if they want, leave our Sangha. I don't have any problem with that. But the reason why I have taken this rebirth and why I teach, why I've created Amrita Mandala with my gurus is to create a vehicle that will take those who have that readiness and willingness to look inside and to heal ourselves and to, remove self-based confusion, and through that attain full enlightenment. This method is for those individuals. So anybody is welcome to come and practice little or more for any duration they want, but my main motivation is that And my main task is to make sure that during my lifetime that the method will be complete and that I have fully enlightened successors who take this perfect Dharma, this Dharma of great perfection, to as many places in the world as possible. I'm not saying, I'm not saying this in dramatic fashion at all. I'm saying this as completely pragmatic and practical statement. It shouldn't be like it might be, somebody might be hearing what I say and thinking that full enlightenment, people just my successors going here and there and teaching. And it might sound like, well, those are two big words. No, 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 no. This is the whole point of Tantrayana. These shouldn't be big words at all. These words should be spoken by all lineage holders of Tantrayana. It should be the motivation of everybody, all tantrics out there. But unfortunately it isn't, because of in a nutshell, because of lack of quality and lack of understanding. There is so many, as you know, for many years I've written and spoken about these things, analyzing different causes and effects, some problems, analyzing problems, not pointing at the mistakes that others make. Often people have understood that I'm just a guy who points at others and, pokes them because of their mistakes. But I've been completely misunderstood. I'm a pragmatic person. I study things and analyze things. Why? This is exactly what Shakyamuni Buddha told his followers to do. And being kind of a mechanic or engineer that I am, from like a professional point of view, this is what I always do. When something doesn't work, you need to find out why, and when you know why it doesn't work, you can fix it or come up with something more effective. This is the case how it is in everything, in all kinds of fields, inventions, and it is true in Dharma also. This is not some completely vague, abstract, angel realm, cannot be understood stuff, cannot be figured out. No, it is an art. Dharma is an art. Dharma is science. Cause and effect. And when we know the causes and effects, then we can map out a path that leads from traumatized psyche on zero bhumi to completely healed pure psyche on all bhumis perfected. This is how tantric yoga should be in any and all and any lineages, isn't it? And just to also clarify that Buddhahood is full enlightenment, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is extremely rare in the world of men, people, humans. Unfortunately, it is very rare. But it is not a special state. Somebody being enlightened is not a special state. There is so much, um, you know, confusion about this. Well, if you can't walk on water, you cannot be a Mahasiddha. If you can't perform siddhis, some miraculous things, no, you can't be an enlightened. There is so much nonsense, and also, you know, who is a Mahasiddha? What does it mean to be a Mahasiddha? If you've had a substantially long cessation, then you know. If you have advanced to, latter Bhumi perfection stage, perfecting 7th, 8th, 9th, around that terrain, then you probably already know that yes, this enlightened state is in one sense extraordinary because you don't feel at all the same way you did before, because you don't have any of that baggage that you've had throughout your life. But at the same time, it's not special in the sense that now you're just floating above all others. It is not like that at all. That is the most stubborn confusion, I think. So, the way how I see it, based on my practice, is that it is the enlightened state that is the normal state. There is this in Zen tradition. There are these koans. It's sometimes translated as riddles, riddles that don't make sense. And there's this one koan of ancient Chinese Zen master called Nansen. Nansen is his name pronounced in Japanese. I don't remember what it is in Chinese. And I don't remember the koan either, but the name of that koan, the core point of the pointer of that koan is everyday mind is the way. Everyday mind is the way. Zen Master Nansen doesn't speak about some in quotes lofty things, pure lands, realms, palaces, high thrones, shit like that. He says everyday mind is the way. But it's not the same. He's not saying that samsaric mind is the way. He's not saying that everyday mind of a common being, a sentient being, samsaric being, is the way. He's speaking of the Buddha mind, Buddha nature, our likeness with God, our true self, pure self. And he's calling it everyday mind. Everyday mind. When something happens every day, we say that it is common, it is normal. It is normal to have breakfast in the morning. It's normal to go to work 5 days a week. It's normal to do whatever you normally do. And that's the whole point. If we flip it around, if we look at this from a yogic point of view, supported, assisted by our own experiences of cessation, then we can understand that this pure nature is not special at all. That is completely common. It's the everyday mind. It's unusual in the world among sentient beings, samsaric human beings, and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. I think that Dharma traditions have failed largely. They have failed. And lineage holders have failed for centuries. Because there should be Buddhas and Bodhisattvas everywhere. But there aren't. Nowadays, lineage holders are confused even about very basic things. Confused about very basic things. And this is something that Guru Padmasambhava, among others, predicted. You know, from Padmasambhava's time, it's been 1100 years, roughly. He predicted that this will happen, that there will be a time when there will be lineage holders in their temples, on their thrones, and that they don't understand anything anymore. But that potential for the so-called golden age of Dharma, for golden age of enlightenment, was always there. But there weren't strong enough teachers and strong enough practitioners to make it happen. Amrita Mandala is another effort to bring that golden age of enlightenment. And again, this is not lofty talk. This is not fancy talk. This is not bullshitting. It's the opposite of bullshitting. I'm talking about pragmatic path with real results, not imaginary results. All right. I think this is enough for my little sermon. Let's sit together. We are simply transforming the mind, transforming our whole being from self-centered, from selfish, from self-based existence to pure, wholesome, pure psyche, selfless, meaning clear, wisdom mind, not confusion mind. Wisdom, it's a kind of a high word, wisdom, but it simply means mind being clear. It's existential wisdom, this prajna, existential wisdom, instead of existential confusion. No matter how self-centered and self-deluded we are, always part of us remain pure, unstained, untainted. Always part of us remains pure. So always part of us, always there is Buddha inside us, Christ inside us. Depending how our vasanas, negative, selfish habits, how strong they are, if we have, what happens as we live our lives over decades is that we develop these vasanas, these negative self-centered habits. And the older we get, the deeper the grooves of those habits become. These are actual grooves on the surface of the channels, nadis and meridians. These are actual grooves, like carved on those channels. And those we release, those we purify. But always remember that view that essentially we are Buddhas, we are pure beings. If we only have that theoretical view without actual experiences, those sensations, then it is not enough. It's actually frustrating, I think, because we cannot have a path that is based on inspiration that there is Buddha in me. We need to have the actual experience. It's the same with everything, isn't it? We want to eat the food. We want to experience life. We want to experience, sex is a good example. A description or an image is not enough. Same thing with realization. There is no realization and no change without experience. Experience of what? This pure nature of ours. Completely pure. Completely pure. In you, in me, in all beings. Completely clear mind, beautiful clear mind. The whole body, the whole mind, energetics, and the whole world around us, living beings, even material things, as if made of diamond, resting in that pristine original clarity, resting in wisdom mind. As if everything was made of diamond. clear, transparent. So clarity is a big deal, a very important facet, because clarity is the, how to say, the doorway from ignorance to wisdom, from selfishness to selflessness, from self-based existence to emptiness of selves. This is the heart and soul of the path of wisdom and clarity. This is the how to say, heart point, the main point of the whole Buddhist path. In Amrita Mandala, the path of wisdom and clarity, we call it. This is the most essential point of purification of bhumis, of causal body, clarity. And this clarity is not the same, it's not the same as silence of the mind, thoughtlessness. This clarity is not the same as thoughtlessness. This is the whole point of Buddha Dharma. Emptiness meditation, whether in sutric way or tantric way, shows us that both thoughts, emotions, and other experiences of the mind, as well as thoughtlessness, as well as the thoughtless state, both share this clarity. It's a complete mistake to mistake thoughtless state for clarity. If you relax your eyes, as well as relax mouth and jaws, it is easy to find this basic clarity, selfless clarity, or knowing awareness, because the most obvious place to find it is from the head. When we relax our eyes and mouth, so that we are not moving our eyeballs seeking stuff with our attention, when we are not talking, generating thoughts with our mouths, then we can easily discover that this clarity is like a lamp inside our heads that's always shining there, like a lamp or like a lit candle. And that's an analogy. It's not actually a lamp that emanates light. It's simply that there is this clear presence that has cognizance. Cognizance. It's not dead, it's not passive. There is this natural ability to cognize, to know. And this knowing is without the sense of I or me. What kind of I or me? I'm talking about, in Amrita Mandala, we talk about two different types of I's or me's. And here, when we talk about the path of wisdom and clarity, Buddha Dharma, emptiness meditation, wisdom, we talk about the I, the sense of self, me, I, that gives us the feeling that something is off, that something is not right. So this limited self, limited I. And what is such an I that we experience in our daily lives? It's simply like a heap of different impressions. And then we believe that this is the self or I that we are. This is who I am. We create an identity of these bunch of impressions that we gather and then put together. And it's off, because such an entity is delusion. Such an entity is nothing but a heap of stuff, heap of memories. But if we look into it, we cannot find this solid self, solid I, solid entity that would always be there. That's the whole thing. It comes and goes. And when it comes, and when we identify with this small self, then we act from it. We act from this false impression, this delusion. But then it goes. Other moment, it's not there. So when we relax eyes and mouth, and figuratively saying, when we just let the lamp shine, this basic knowing awareness, cognizant awareness, selfless knowing can be discovered. And through the path of wisdom and clarity, through the path of Buddha Dharma, we simply establish this basic knowing in all thoughts, in all emotions, in all states, day and night. When meditating, when active, in all conditions. That's it. That's the journey through the bhumis, through the stages. So it's the easiest it is to relax eyes, relax mouth, and find it that way. Establish it in one's practice session that way. But at the same time, if I tell to you, even if you are a beginner, there is this knowing quality in your whole body already, in your whole being already. The same clear-minded knowing is all over your being already. With your whole body, no, effortless knowing. Completely effortless. Nothing needs to be generated or done or exercised. You just discover what is already there. So here we are not really concerned about using our senses, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. So we are not concerned about knowing of some experience. We are only concerned at the knowing, at the base of all and any experiences. This knowing is there always, day and night, when thinking, dreaming, planning, when not thinking, when being passive. This is always there. It's always available. It's never not there. And it can always be recognized. At any situation, at any circumstance. And what it does is that it simply liberates from those habits, patterns, vasanas. It takes the mind off from the grooves. Simple as that. When thoughts come, memories come, thinking, fantasies, you simply, during that thinking, fantasizing, dreaming, you recognize this knowing quality, this clarity in the middle of those thoughts, emotions, feelings, memories. You simply recognize this selfless clarity. So you don't push the thoughts away, but are present. Because this clarity, this knowing awareness really makes you present, isn't it? What kind of presence? What is this presence? How am I not present? How have I not been present? And how am I present now? What's the difference? It's kind of like comparing people who are drunk and people who are sober. is a good little session on knowing awareness. It's a good place to start this retreat. Let's finish today with vows and prayers. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in His pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in His pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in His pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I am the Guru, I'm in the pure land. I am the Buddha, I am the Dharma, I am the Sangha, I am the Guru, I'm in the pure land. I am the Buddha, I am the Dharma, I am the Sangha, I am the Guru, I'm in the pure land. I am the Buddha, I am the Dharma, I am the Sangha. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. All beings are free. All beings are free. All beings are free. May all beings receive my accumulated merit. I dedicate the merit to the refuge and to all sentient beings. Very good.
Hello, hello. Just a question. The RBI tomorrow, it's 8:30 Slovenia time until 10.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Uh-huh. And will other acharyas do it the other days, or is it just Acharya Helena for the 3 days until Monday?
Probably other acharyas
Okay.
after Helena. If you have other questions, feel free.